Welcome, you who are the one we have been waiting for. Welcome to Connect the Dots. My apologies for being MIA for so long, but life has been happening 100 miles an hour. But here we are now. As you see, this video lesson is entitled Primal Force, what it is, how to weaponize it. This lesson will consist of several parts. How many, I do not know. We have to see how it plays, but I will endeavor to keep each segment concise and tight. As you also see, the first part of this instruction is subtitled Kobe Bryant and Anti-Revolution. On the surface, Primal Force, Kobe Bryant, Anti-Revolution may seem entirely unrelated, but when you connect the dots, you find that they are not. I remind you that the purpose of this channel is to build a mass liberation movement. Impossible or outlandish as that might seem, it is an entirely doable project if only we do. Some of us may be too young to remember, other of us too uninformed to know, and that's not an insult. We know only what we are exposed to, and too many of us have been insufficiently informed about our history to realize that once upon a time, not that long ago, sorrow and suffering were our norms. And all other comforts, the rights, privileges, freedoms, the zuzus and the wham-whams we currently enjoy are a direct result of the sacrifice of those who won decisive battles in the ongoing war that we called the human rights movement, which white segregationism wrongly termed white supremacy, self-servingly redefined, rebranded as the civil rights movement. In any case, building a mass movement is our purpose. To accomplish this, we must be methodical. Methodical in building the movement, methodical in how we learn. So, before we delve into the subject matter itself, we must first examine its backstory. The backstory or context of the subject provides the foundation upon which it will be built. But to lay a solid foundation, we must first examine the ground we will build the foundation upon. This is especially important here because the subject matter of this video is eminently practical but ventures into the esoteric. So, clarity is important. In order for esoteric knowledge to be of value, we must see clearly in our hearts how it is solidly rooted in the useful. Fortunately, the backstory here is very brief. Of 10 gazillion possible examples, we can tell the whole story with only 3. Jeffrey Epstein, whistleblowing, Davos, Switzerland. Jeffrey Epstein, as you may recall, was the celebrity pedophile, the highly respected trafficker of child sexual slaves who hosted other pedophiles or alleged pedophiles like Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker, even Alan Dershowitz, the unscrupulous lawyer prostitute who recently represented Donald Trump at the impeachment hearings. Trump, incidentally, was also a very close friend of Jeffrey Epstein, the celebrity pedophile. But for the moment, that is a digression. Anyway, even though Epstein allegedly killed himself, there remains more than enough evidence and witnesses to prosecute the many alleged pedophiles who, if they did not orchestrate his suicide, certainly rejoice in it if, in fact, he is actually dead. But the very revealing thing is that both the legal system and the news media are absolutely united in their disinterest in pursuing the Epstein case. Justice for the victims who have come forward, who have pointed fingers and named names, no interest. Even though there are numerous local, state government agencies devoted to finding missing and exploited children, not a single one is active in finding any of the children exploited by Jeffrey Epstein. Let's be clear. Merely because Epstein died, all those children who were in his marketplace did not suddenly become free. They are still enslaved, yet there's no search for them. Very revealing. The news media, for its part, thrives on salacious, sensational stories, most especially if they have to do with sex. This is what the whole Me Too movement is based on. Yet what do we find here as regard the news media with Jeffrey Epstein? The only word we hear about its interest in the Epstein case is in suppressing the story. Information has been leaked. CNN, NBC, CNN, that they have actively engaged in doing everything possible to suppress the story. In fact, as some of you may know, one reporter was fired for accidentally letting something slip in public. So, this is very revealing. The second example, whistleblowing, really explains itself merely by stating it, whistleblow. We all know what that is. A group, usually a powerful group, religion, corporation, government, shows one face to the public, yet has a secret agenda which is entirely different from what it declares. The third and last example has to do with Davos, Switzerland. Davos, Switzerland is the place, exclusive, very elitist place where the most powerful capitalist heads of state and the wealthiest of the wealthy meet in order to decide the fate of the world. Now, these wealthy consist not only of the so-called new money like Jeff Bezos or Zuckerman or Bill Gates, but other historic so-called old money, the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and DuPonts and Vanderbilts, those we don't hear about anymore. They all gather in this place to determine what to do not only with the planet, but with our lives, without any consultation with us. In all of these, the common thread is very obvious. These, Jeffrey Epstein case, or the lack thereof, the news media's response to that, whistleblowing, and Davos, Switzerland, are all clear evidence of conspiracy. It has been said that the greatest trick the devil ever played was to make people think he does not exist. To upgrade that to our moment, the greatest trick conspirators play is to make us think they do not exist. In fact, we have been trained, anytime we get a suspicion about something that is too iconoclastic, too threatening to the status quo, all the status quo has to do is to label it conspiracy theory. And then we begin to doubt our own interpretations and laugh at those who persist and say, no, something's really there. So this is the point here. In order to understand why Primal Force is so vital and why we must weaponize it, it's important to realize that there has been and continues to be an all-out effort to suppress it, a conspiracy to suppress it. Stay tuned.